What's up, my electrified little elderberries? This is Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, and after 4 days of having no power out here in Northern California, we are officially back. So I figured we should go ahead and kick things off with an Atlas Prime Access giveaway. Now, do be aware this is only going to run until October 31st, midnight Pacific Standard Time, but, you know, if we're going to be real here, I'm not going to pick the winner until I wake up the next day, so you probably have a little bit of leeway. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and that you stay tuned for the rest of the video where I will give you more deets as to how to enter. Now, today's topic, and please pardon me if I'm a little bit rusty, it's been 5 days since I've been able to record a video, so if we jump in, it's a bit sketch, don't mind me, but I had a lot of time to reflect about my changing feelings about the state of Warframe. As you guys know, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster here on the channel as of late. There are things that I love, there are things that I hate, there are issues that still need to be addressed, so I figured we'd go ahead and talk about kind of like my mental rating scale, and I highly suggest that you make note of the rating scale that I have going on because it might have something to do with the giveaway later on. Now, I broke this down into several different stages. The first stage is like the glorious, glowing, blind faith of the White Knights. They've got this blind faith that is like, D can do absolutely no wrong. I don't care. Maybe one day they'll retweet me, or maybe they'll mention me in like a stream or something. No, I love them. They're no matter what they do, everything is perfect. You know what I mean? No matter how busted a game mode is, no matter how like disconnected the rewards are, there's nothing that they can do that is wrong. And we hear so many of these White Knights like clamoring to DE's defense whenever there is any form of criticism aimed at them. And a lot of the times there's like valid criticism that they don't care because DE can do nothing wrong. My blind faith is strong. Now, moving along down the ladder, there is the standard faith, and that's exactly where I kind of sat for a long time. Like, DE has some of the best minds out there in the industry. I have faith that they're gonna do whatever is right, and you know, I always kind of like made an excuse for them. They always have a trick up their sleeve. Oh, they've got a trick up their sleeve. I'm sure you've heard me say that, especially if you've been around on the channel for a long time. They're gonna come out with something and it's gonna be absolutely amazing. I just had this faith that they were gonna do something right no matter what. And a lot of the times you would cut them a lot of slack because of that faith and because of the fact that they have so many talented people on staff. You're like, how could they possibly do wrong? Now, as of late, my faith has been downgraded into hope. I hope that they're gonna do something good. It's no longer like, oh yeah, they're definitely gonna do something good with the next big update. Are you super hyped? I'm hyped. Are you hyped? No, it's one of those things where I'm like, they have a lot of great people on staff, but will they utilize them correctly? Will they address the issues that we've been bringing up? I hope that they're going to go ahead and take care of all of those things. And that's kind of like where I fell for a good portion of time. It's like this kind of like cautious optimism where you're sitting there hoping that they're going to do the right thing, and you know that they have the potential to do the right thing, but will they? Now, the next step down from hope is what I like to call prayer. For lack of a better term, prayer is that moment saying, DE, yo, you can't fuck this up. You've done a lot of bad in your time, and I'm praying for you. Like, listen, there is a lot on the line. Like, my faith has been shaken. I've been hoping that you could do better than this, but as of late, it seems like you need a little bit of prayer. And that's kind of the stage that I've been at recently. Like, oh my God, please listen to the things that we're saying. Please start taking action on the things we're saying. Like, can you hear our prayers? Because we need you to do good, because I'm seeing a lot of things kind of go down the shitter. Now, there is a stage underneath this that I've definitely dipped into a couple times. It's called tired. Where it's like, you see one of their dev streams, and you're like, really? This is what you're giving us? You see their patch notes, and you're like, oh, so you haven't addressed the things that we've been talking about that you need to take on for quite some time. Okay, so you're just gonna ignore us this entire time. It's just like this mode of like, oh, another deluxe skin? Okay, That's fantastic. I mean, like, when are you gonna address the actual issues in the game? Cool, you gonna give us 50 skins before you're gonna give us like a halfway decent game mode. I mean, you couldn't give us some nice rewards or something? Maybe even some, cosmetic rewards. And it's like that moment where you're just like, you're irritated, but you'll still stick through. You know what I mean? You're still waiting to see what they're gonna do next. It's kind of like this weird passive-aggressive stage where you're like, I see what you're doing. Okay. How much longer do I have to keep giving my feedback, and how much longer are you going to keep ignoring my feedback? And that's kind of like where tired comes into play. Now, I don't think that I've reached this next level, which is below tired, and that's sick and tired. But I definitely know that there are some people very, very close to me that are sick and tired. And the thing about it is, it's at this point where it's almost like the complete opposite of blind faith, where it's just like blind, I'm not gonna say hatred, but blind like dismissal. Like, oh, okay, so you're gonna put out that game mode. We'll see how you fuck it up, because you're gonna fuck it up. Right? And I'm sure that I've seen them in the comment sections too. And I'm not saying that DE hasn't done enough wrong in their time to deserve some of that sick and tired. I know that there's a lot of people that made it to sick and tired far earlier than I got to just tired. But literally, I've seen it a lot, and I'm like, I know it's bad, y'all, but I don't know about sick and tired bad, because it's like to the point where DE, like literally, DE cannot do anything right. And in their eyes, in the sick and tired's eyes, they're just gonna keep fucking up and keep fucking up and keep fucking up. And at the point that you're sick and tired, it's like one of those things where it doesn't matter what they do, it'll never be good enough. Unless they do a complete 180 on the game, unless they make something that is specifically made for that person, there is no saving the game for the sick and tired. Now, we kind of like covered an entire spectrum of emotion, but there's the complete opposite. See, I truly believe that the opposite of love is not hate. I feel like love and hate are the same sides of the coin, right? They're both very passionate. You have a very strong feeling towards something. The last stage is what I call checked out. And it's the point where basically you just don't give a fuck anymore. You hear Warframe, you have no emotional connection to it whatsoever. You're playing different games. You don't even care what they release because it's not something that appeals to you. Once you've checked out, you're absolutely done from the game. And that's what I mean, because the people who are sick and tired, they still care about the game. They care enough to listen to what's going on in the game. But with the checked out, you're like, I don't feel like clicking on that video today. Oh, they got new patch notes? Yeah, I don't feel like, looking at those patch notes. I don't even want Rob to read me those patch notes. That's how checked out I am. So those are the different stages of, like, emotional range. So I'm very curious, and you're going to need to insert this in the giveaway, as you got to let me know what stage of Warframe you're at. Now, I have to give you a little bit of a snapshot. I know we've been going on for a little while, but one of the things that have pulled me into the tired mode for a while, y'all, I don't remember if you remember, but there was a pre-order for the Sacrifice bundle where you would get the Umbra statue and you would get the Umbra shirt, and you pre-ordered all of that, right? And they said you would get it by March. Okay, and I'm bringing this up for a reason, so for everybody else who pre-ordered as well, listen closely. So as time goes on, right, they're saying, oh, so many of you guys pre-ordered that, we're completely swamped with all of this, so, you're not going to get it till mid-June. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. Mid-June, right? So we're sitting there, I'm like, okay, don't worry about it, no big deal, just, it's cool, mid-June, I'm patient, I'm waiting. So mid-June rolls around. You're absolutely nothing. And then they tell us, okay, we're pushing it back again. I'm like, oh my god, wow, this is going to take a while. Like, some people are not going to get it till later. But then a little thing pops around called TennoCon. And here's the clincher. There's a good amount of people that actually went ahead and pre-ordered the Umbra statue bundle with the shirt and everything. Pre-ordered all of that. They did go to TennoCon because, it's a break. We wanna support DE. We want to give them our money. And they went to TennoCon and they discovered that there were a whole bunch of these Umbra statues at TennoCon. So they pre-ordered it. DE already has their money. Here's the product sitting in front of them, but they can't have it. I mean, they could if they wanted to. They could go back and they could cancel their order, but don't you think that like fulfilling the orders that were pre-ordered ahead of time and were promised to us in March, then pushed back into June, right? That they were doing all of that. That we should have gotten our stuff before they tried to fill their quota for TennoCon? I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of a customer service issue there. And I'm sure that you guys have seen some pretty angry tweets. Now, here's the kicker. So I was thinking, you know, if everybody is getting their stuff in July, right? Like, clearly they have all of these statues here. You would think that I would get my statue sometime in July, right? Because they got all those statues made. Did not get my statue until the end of August. So, I was definitely very frustrated. I was definitely right there into that tired dip amongst, you know, the good content drought. And I need to point that out because there are some really like bottom of the barrel content creators out there. They're like, there's content, you can cover whatever you want. I was like, no, I just want good content, and I want that good content to play so that my spirits are high, so that when my Umbra statue doesn't come until the end of August, at least I'm happy with the game modes that are currently in game. So the good content drought, let me underline that real quick. All of that was coming out. There was literally nothing that was really emphasized in difficulty of play. And I just kind of saw this bleak future for Warframe. And I was definitely in that tired mode. However, as of late, we've been seeing some interesting changes in DE. When we saw the things with the Kuvaliches, even with the Halloween event that came out, we're starting to see this shift in the kind of narrative that they're creating. And to be honest with you, that's kind of shifting the way that I feel about them too. Especially because I got an email recently saying, hey, listen, we're sorry we botched your order. I mean, I do understand that this is the end of October, right? And they're only offering us 1,000 plat now. So if you did pre-order your Umbra statue, make sure to check your emails, especially your spam email folder, because that's where mine ended up. It was just somebody in my Twitch chat that told me that they got that. So if you haven't gotten that email and you pre-ordered your Umbra statue, make sure to check your spam folder because you don't want to miss out on 1,000 plat that DE is going to give you because of the fact that they effed up your order. I mean, it only took them several months to do that. But in my head, I'm like, it sounds like DE is starting to like, you know, the wheels are turning in their head like, we got to do something and we got to get the goodwill back for our players because let's be real, there are a lot of other great games that have come out recently and will be coming out like in the future. So they need to make sure that they have their audience like locked down. Now, during this whole time period, we got a lot of weird debauchery from DE. We got the whole Essence of Umbra debacle. We're like, and that's really where the kind of like tired part set in. We're like, out of all of the rewards you want to give us for this, you know, the new Disruption expansion, you're going to give us this terrible farmable Essence of Umbra? No, thank you. And I was like, please don't tell me that this is where your brains are at and where you think that, you know, these are going to be good rewards. There's definitely a disconnect. And when we saw things like Kuva Disruption, that was even a bigger disconnect, right? Upon the whole launch of that Disruption expansion, they had the, the fact that literally Kuva Disruption did not give as many rewards as Kuva Survival, and it was the more difficult game mode. Now they're getting around to kind of like fix that a little bit because they have made the rest of the standard disruption modes give better relic payouts, so a little bit rarer, especially when you kind of complete them in a better fashion. They still haven't fixed the Kuva rewards though, so definitely keep that in mind. And in my head, I was kind of like, this is super duper poorly thought out. Like, you're giving us a more difficult game mode, but you're not giving us good rewards for it. And the only good reward that you really had lined up for it was this universal medallion, which wasn't universal because you couldn't use it in the conclave area, which I get. But really, 1,000 standing doesn't really mean too much for a lot of players who can kind of grab 1,000 standing like that, you know? Not really a big deal, even if it is universal. So there was that reward, which was slightly underwhelming. And then we had the potential Essence of Umbra, which was just like, God, no. So we were sitting there at those, you know, rewards, and we were kind of not all that excited about it, right? Now, the kicker to me, though, was the fact that boosters didn't work in the Kuva disruption was absolutely stupid. Now, I'm going to say something that might piss some people off, but I really want you to think about this, right? And I know that some people got angry. Why does it matter if boosters work on this? Why should anybody care? Listen, you have to think about it this way from a financial standpoint, all right? DE could lose 100% of their free-to-play players. All of those players that did not spend a dime, every single one of them could go. And guess what? As long as they retained 100% of their paying players, they would still have the same paycheck, right? So I want to really stress that. Now, if DE kept 100% of their free-to-play players, but lost 50% of their paying players, then guess what? That's a 50% loss right there. So if those paying players only make up 2% of, the entire game population, they lose 1% of that 2%, boom, they're down to half of the money that they had been bringing in. So I really want you to keep that in mind. So they do need to make sure that boosters work in these game modes unless they want to turn people away from spending money on their game, which is how they keep their game alive, right? So part of me is like, none of this is well thought out. Like, why are all of the pieces of the puzzles just slipping? However, recently we did have a little bit of a change with the Halloween event. And I'm also very curious, and this is not a part of the whole giveaway, necessity, how you guys felt about the game mode. Because me personally, I think that the game mode was really fun. It brought a different type of challenge to the game. It's still a kills per second kind of rate. You want to make sure that you can take out enemies really, really fast. But if you're in a group, you also have this teamwork aspect to it, and you can use different types of Warframes to kind of make all of this work, which I'm very, very fond of. It gets you out of the box, it gets you thinking, and also the better player you are, the easier the game mode is. It all kind of boils down to skill, both mechanically and technically, which I kind of freaking love. Now, I know that some people had issues trying to get into the game mode, but somebody had mentioned this on Twitter. This proves that DE can come up with a good replayable game mode. The only thing that they're missing, and this is a consistent, is the rewards for those game modes. So a part of me is just kind of like I know that specifically for this one, for the Halloween event, I'm gonna cut them some slack. So I want you to be very aware. I'm gonna underline that I'm cutting them slack. So don't think that I'm an uncompromising bitch. I understand this is just a game mode. It's only going on till November 1st. So if you haven't done it, make sure that you do it already. It's a short-term game mode, plus we've got some big updates coming up very, very soon. So I get that there weren't any rewards in that, but at least it's an interesting new game mode that I hope that they utilize for something else in the future. Really, really, really enjoyed that. And so part of me is they're doing some things with Kuvaliches. They're doing some things with these Halloween events that's really kind of getting the gears turning in my head that DE has been listening. They want to give us challenge. They want to give us challenge in a different way. They want to give us maybe tennis shoes instead of running shoes, but at least we get shoes, right? So we should be happy with that. Now, I want to go ahead and touch on Kuvaliches because this is really kind of the part that gets me super duper excited. But before we do, I want to give you guys the way on how to enter the Atlas Prime Access giveaway. So, number 1, I'm going to need your IGN. Number 2, I'm going to need to know which stage of the emotional spectrum are you at. Are you blind faith, hope, prayer, tired, sick and tired, or have you checked out? Make sure to use those exact words in your entry. And very last, instead of giving me your platform, I don't want to see your platform in there. What I want to do is I want to see the first letter of your IGN and the last letter of your IGN. Then, if you're a PC player, put a P at the end of it. If you're a PS4 player, put a 4 at the end of it. If you're an Xbox One player, toss a 1 at the end of it. And if you're a Switch player, toss an S at the end of it. So again, the first and last letter of your IGN, and then the platform, whether it's P for PC, 4 for PS4, 1 for Xbox, or S for Switch. If you mess this up, you can always go ahead and edit your entry. And don't forget, I want to know, what emotional stage are you on? Because my emotional stage definitely rose when they started talking about Kuvaliches. Like, the fact that they made animations for Kuvaliches to harm us, I was kind of impressed. The fact that they made the little shoulder pieces, which kind of have the different Warframe helmets on there, just in case they kill you, kind of impressed me. I was like, you want to introduce a little bit of danger. I'm into it. And after they really utterly and grossly nerfed their arbitrations with those shitty revives, and by the way, I'm just going to point this out real quick. There's some excuses being flung around. Oh, it's host migrations. Oh, we don't have enough money for dedicated servers for that game mode. Or, oh, it's really complicated to do that, so I don't really know how we're going to achieve it. I'm just letting you know that I believe there's a publication out on DE's spending for their marketing. This year's marketing budget actually went up by a whole lot. As of June, end of June this year, they spent $6.4 million on advertising. So their marketing budget is pretty large. I'm just saying, use a mil of that and give us a dedicated server for that one game mode. Listen, I know it might be complex and difficult to solve, but you toss $1 million at anything, because I'm not a programmer, but I know the money should help the problem out a little bit. Regardless, with all of the disappointments that came with arbitrations and the fact that they still haven't really done anything to fix those issues, when they started showing off like the things with the Kuvaliches, I was really like, oh my god, this is kind of gonna be dope. Now, when they talked about Requiem relics, I was like, you guys really thought about this, because they added it to the Kuva siphons. Now, one of my biggest gripes, and I've said this a million times over, is they need to go back to some of their old game modes and refresh the reward tables. Now, the Kuva siphons kind of became obsolete with Kuva survival and also, you know, the kind of fucked up version of Kuva disruption that they have. So a part of me was like, okay, and then of course they've also added Kuva into Nightwave, and they're adding Kuva as rewards to these Requiem relics, right? But what they did with these Kuva siphons, people weren't playing them as much anymore. So what did they do? They went ahead and added the new feature of them dropping Requiem relics. So for a standard Kuva siphon, you get a 30%, and then for a Kuva flood, you get a 100% chance at one of these relics. So I'm like, okay, that's telling us to go back and replay these things and get a new reward from them. And that's something that we've been asking them for a while. Go back to some of your old mission types and refresh them so that we can go back and we can play them. In addition, some of the rewards for the Requiem relics are actually not terrible. I'm not saying that they're great. And I think that DE could improve a little bit more on them. But, you know, they gave us some Kuva. They give us some of the new weapon Exilis slots kind of like in there. Like, of course, what I would love to see is some Aura Forma, because I'm not playing arbitrations until they get rid of the revives. And at the same time, or I might play it solo, who knows. Or toss in a super rare drop, like maybe a really, really low drop of a potential Umbra Forma. I'm just saying. And they also said that these Kuva fissures that are going to happen in the Kuva fortress, right, that they were going to be higher leveled as well. So that, I'm like, okay, I'm interested. I'm excited for all of that. In addition, they were talking about all of the influences of the Kuvalich. I love that because, number one, it's a choice. You can either play the node as a standard node or you can choose the Kuvalich node. And the Kuvalich node, of course, is more difficult. And I'm like, thank you. And I know this is going to sound kind of weird and kind of odd, but you know how like the Kuvalich steals your shit, right? Well, like that's not really a big deal for a lot of the veteran players out there because legit, we already got all that shit. That's literally just a bounty on their heads. You're just doing this to piss us off now. And I think that that's fantastic because, you know what, if a normal player doesn't want to do all of the difficult stuff, they can just go ahead and choose the normal node. But if they do want to play the more difficult node, they can go ahead and swap into the Kuvalich node. So yes, that's absolutely fantastic. Plus they kind of like introduced this whole like, I like to call it the Game of Thrones effect. So if anybody here has watched Game of Thrones, you know that sometimes you only watch Game of Thrones not to cheer on the heroes, but because you really wanted to see the people you hated die. And that's kind of like the whole Kuvalich thing, right? Like, I don't know how much of a threat you're really gonna pose to me, but I kind of sort of want to kill you, you know? Now, personally, when it kind of goes down to the rewards, I'm still kind of, On the Kuva weapons, I do like the elemental bonus. That's definitely a confirmed thing. Now, I'm hearing some conflicting information internally, which I don't really want to get into, that may make it even better. I don't know. But what we know, we will get an elemental bonus off of that. And I personally am not sure how I feel about, if an elemental effect is really going to be all that much to me. But I have seen some of the info where it's kind of like, like 53% bonus elemental damage. That's actually a nice boost, right? So part of me is like, that's great. And I really love the fact that they made it count for mastery. And that's mainly because of the fact that if it didn't count for mastery, then why the fuck should I go and earn them? Now, as a completionist, I want to earn them so I can get all the mastery up there and boost myself up to the next, mastery rank. Like regardless of whether those weapons are anything that I actually want to play with, at least I can go ahead and get mastery for them, right? So I'm definitely all about that. And putting in some weapons that you have to earn, even though it is kind of RNG because you don't know if you're going to be able to get, I think, any of these 3 new weapons. It's going to be a little bit of a bummer, but to be completely honest with you, at least it will keep me playing. So I like the fact that it seems like DE is listening. We're getting more difficulty. We're getting them having tailored rewards for the types of players that are playing the zones. They're also, refreshing old game modes. I'm kind of into all of that, and I'm excited for, what's to come. Now, will this be the thing that saves Warframe for me? No, I've definitely elevated myself from the prayer back up into the hope, and maybe just a little bit of faith. It's like hope with a splash of faith. That's where I'm at right now. But let me know how you guys feel down in the comments below. That's my current state of mind. Sorry if this video was a little bit rambly. Again, I'm just getting back into the moving and grooving of all of this stuff. Regardless, Old Blood is coming up very soon, so I hope that you guys go ahead and check out my coverage for that. If I do post up another video tomorrow, I will remind you again of getting into the giveaway. So be sure you go ahead and enter. I've already listed all of it earlier. So toss that down in the comments below. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. And celebrate that you've got electricity. Listen, there was no bread in the store. There was no cakes in the store. All of the food. I'll post up pictures somewhere. If you guys have not checked my Twitter, you should, because literally we was out. Anyway, I'm gonna go out. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.